And here we've got some terrific devil's fingers. Look at that. And this is their perfect environment. Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the New Forest. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at a place called Linwood, which is about 4 miles to the northeast of Ringwood in Hampshire. And we're going to be doing a roughly 3.5 mile circular route to the north of here. We're going to be seeing quite a lot of open heathland, some wonderful woodland. I'm going to take you to what I think is one of the best viewing points in the forest, and also a very iconic bridge. So do join us. Now, you can see we're pretty well wrapped up today. I'm filming first week in November in the morning. There was quite a frost last night, but as you can tell, I'm squinting in the sun. The sun is out, quite a bit of blue sky, so it's going to warm up quite quickly. We're ready, let's go. Well, I've parked my car in the car park at the High Corner Inn, and it's one of the most remotest pubs in the New Forest. But don't worry, if you follow the road from Ringwood to Linwood, past the Red Chute pub, carry on and look for a gravel track that's signposted on your left hand side. You will find it. But it's just by me here, and there it is. It's quite an old building, goes back to the 1700s when it was a farm originally, and the stables are now connected to the main pub with a linked building, and you can stay here as well as your horse. I believe there are stables here, and I know a lot of people come here, ride out here for the day and tie up their horse outside and go in for a quick pint. And certainly I think we might be popping in there later on. Indeed, looks as though there's a pony in the gardens waiting to be served. Right, we're going to start our journey and head northwards. Wow, look at all those crab apples on the ground there. It really has been a terrific year. Well, not just for crab apples, for all types of fruit, and also acorns in particular. And oh wow, look at this sweet little thatched cottage just catching the early morning sun. Isn't that pretty? Just panning around. I mean, some of the colours that we're going to see today are going to be quite stunning. The autumnal change in the leaves of the trees. Still a bit of green, but there's so much gold and yellow and brown. It's such a lovely time of year. Just made our way from High Corner Wood and shortly going to be going out onto an open plain. But here we are crossing a little stream. It's called Dockens Water, and its source isn't too far from here actually, at Fritham in the east, and it flows down from a sort of northeast to southwest direction and eventually makes its way out into the River Avon via the Blashford Lakes. But as it's flowing quite well at the moment, we've had quite a bit of rain recently, but lovely, and the water's quite clear, but the gravel bottom's got quite a brown tinge to it. But it's very much your quintessential New Forest stream through the woods. Right, let's start making our way out onto the heathland. Well, I tell you, I'm loving this sunshine. I'm going to have some fun trying to keep my shadow out of the picture today though. So this is a little area of heathland that we're going to cross over, and well, if I pan round you can see what I'm looking at, and the enclosure in the far distance is the Hasley Inclosure, and that's where we're going to be heading up. And then just panning around, I can see some deer in the very far distance. I'll see if I can get a close-up picture on my camera. Looks as though they're fallow. I think I can see a fallow buck with its broad flat antlers. And then just turning around. Now there's a clump of trees over in the very far distance. Back in the 1700s, Scots pine was introduced into the New Forest at Boulderwood, Autumnal, and here, just at a little place called Fir Round. It does appear on an Ordnance Survey map. Obviously the trees there aren't the originals, but I want to say it really is quite beautiful. Okay, so we're going to start heading uphill. We're going to be looking out for the odd crater or two. Back in the Second World War, this area here was just inside the boundary of the Ashley Walk bombing range, only just, so it wasn't used that much in this area. Well, we're about halfway up our ascent. Gives us a good opportunity to stop for a breather. But look at the this erosion on the side of this bank here in the sand. It's very, very brown in colour, and I'm guessing that's due to the fact there's a lot of iron content here. Certainly want to see a little bit more brown sand later on. Whew. Well, made it to the top. Now this, folks, I think is one of the best viewing points in the whole of the forest. I love coming here, and if I turn around, I know sometimes views don't always come off that well on a GoPro, but isn't that wonderful? That's looking north, and there's where's that? That's Ogden's in the far distance. And in the very, very far distance, still a bit hazy, I can just about make out the hills, the rolling downlands of Wiltshire. And then just panning round, that's Gourley Hill over there. And then I'll turn around. The sun's going to try not to get the sun directly into the screen here. This is where we've come from. That's the Broomy Inclosure over there. Still a little bit of a mist from this morning. I'm going to stay here for a few minutes. I'll get some photos up when it's cleared a little bit, but it really is quite exquisite. And then just turning around here, that's the Hasley Inclosure, which we're going to explore very, very shortly. Well, if it's all right with you, Logan and I are just going to have a little 10 minutes or so sitting here and admiring the view, so we'll see you shortly. Well, just before we go into the enclosure here, I could stay and watch this view for hours, I really could. But I just noticed down by my right hand side, where did I see it? Oh yeah, here we go, a little fungi poking through. I don't know if you can see it there. Now the reason I mention it, a couple of weeks or so ago I was out in the southern part of the forest down the Lyndhurst way and came across some terrific fungi, so I took some film footage. I'll show that to you now. It's about 2 minutes or so, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you later. And here we've got some terrific devil's fingers. Look at that. And this is their perfect environment. They love having loads of pony poo. They look like little sea creatures, don't they? And so colourful. And look at these over here. There's absolutely loads of them. So their tentacles very much look as though they are something that have been washed up in the sea. But certainly, as I said, perhaps not the prettiest of vegetation in the world, but certainly very colourful. And here we've got a young stinkhorn that's coming up. It will soon be attracting flies to its head there. I think these extraordinary looking fungi. And then over here some yellow staghorn growing amongst the moss on the tree there. Quite a glorious deep yellow colour. We're now in Hasley Inclosure, heading eastwards. The enclosure was established many years ago around Hasley Hill, funnily enough. It was famous originally for its sweet chestnuts. A lot of them have been felled and replaced by conifers, but if I just pan round, see where I am. So quite interesting. Just on the you've got some fencing here, and on the right hand side it's all very much deciduous, again with these beautiful autumnal colours, and then on the left hand side the much younger pine conifer trees. Right, now back in the late 1990s, I think it was 1998, the local paper, the Daily Echo, reported the fact that there was a black panther seen in these woods. It appeared in the paper, so it must have been true, right? So we're going to go through this little section a little bit quicker than we normally do. Well, I made our way through the enclosure there. Pleased to say, no sign of any panthers. Now we're going to start heading south, but before we do, I'm going to make a little detour to the north of the enclosure, just to, well, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, is another fantastic view to see, and that's the Hampton Ridge in the very far distance. And then just in front of me, there are a couple of spurs just on the northern side of the enclosure, one slightly bigger than the other, known for years as Great Witch and Little Witch. The reason I mention it, during the Second World War there was a huge ditch about 100 yards long here, and lorries used to regularly come up here, and unexploded bombs from the bombing range would be lowered into the trench and detonated. I mean, the ditch was filled in after the war, but amazing to think that it was here. A lot more peaceful now, I'm pleased to say. And the other reason I wanted to come around here, there's some brown sand, and as regular viewers will know, Logan loves running in sand. Well, continuing to head south, this is one of those walks where you keep having to stop from time to time to admire the view. It really is quite magnificent. Far distance, that's the, I'm not sure if it's called Slowden or Slodden Enclosure, and then we're heading to the Broomy Enclosure, and the very far distance Holly Hatch Enclosure. I can just see the white outline of the Keeper's Lodge. I know a lot of people sometimes think that this is bleak, but there's a lot going on out on some of these heathland areas in the winter. Obviously there's ponies out there, but yeah, there's loads of the little Dartford warblers and stone chats, noisy little things, and they're all year round birds here. And it's what's great about the New Forest. You've got the mixture of the open heathland as well as the thick woodland. I just come off the heathland now and shortly going to go into the Broomy Enclosure. We're just about to cross Dockens Water again, and right by me here is, well, iconic might be too strong a word for it, but certainly it's one of the most photographed bridges in the New Forest. It's Splash Bridge, and well-known artist and archaeologist Hayward Sumner, he published drawings in his 1925 New Forest guide of this bridge. It was wooden then. I mean, it was later replaced by this concrete bridge, which I believe was cast in situ. Let's just pan round one last time to have a look at the view north and that wonderful autumn sunshine. And look at these 2 or 3 oaks here, and as I said, their leaves now well on the way to getting that beautiful golden colour. Right, we're on the homeward stretch now. Into the Broomy Enclosure we go. Now this enclosure is quite an old one, originally established in 1809, although the oak trees here weren't planted until 1829, so perhaps an earlier planting failed. What you can see behind me here, the bracken and the ferns now dying back, but still have that wonderful brown colour. And then if I just pan round, different part of the enclosure completely here, the pine trees, which of course would have been planted much more recently. And again, I love the way some of the lights that you get in here with the sunshine streaming through and just catches the various colours of the trees just at the right spot. It really is smashing. And then at the far western end of this particular enclosure, there's a very good display of bluebells in the spring. Well folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up or a like, and do make a comment. And as I always say, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Hopefully then you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. We thought we'd do our end bit on Splash Bridge here. We've had a super walk today. It's been one of those autumnal fresh mornings, really great to be alive. We're off to the High Corner Inn for some light refreshment to finish things off. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio.